Crafters, Raquel here from Paints and Glitter. I'm coming along with the newest birthday week release from Tonic Studios. This is the Advent Cracker box die set. It contains 32 pieces and I have a tutorial for you today. Really quickly, I want to go over the pieces that are included, and that is this base piece here that will allow you to create the sides of your little Advent Cracker box. There are 4 different styles of decorations that you can choose for the little end portions. Then there are 2 different styles of tags that you can also add to it. This one is really neat because it has the little box that you can create to go on the inside, and you have your choice of using that little box to have 2 different sides that will open up and allow you to have a little gift or a little chocolate, for instance. However, you can close one of the sides, and the sides will be created by the die itself, which creates a little aperture, and then this little long die over here allows you to create the little boxes you place inside. Now, as you see here, there are some layers, so you can use these on the inside if you'd like to decorate that. Then there is this piece here. It creates a little door together with this larger square here, which you can then cut down, and I'll show you how to do that. Then the rest of these items here allow you to create a little lock for your door, and that's this little piece here, along with the candy cane and the lollipop there. That will allow you to create the actual little closing mechanism. You have little hinges. There is a bell with a shadow. There's a holly leaf with a shadow. There's some more greenery here, some more with little berries, and then 2 different types of baubles, a long thinner one, and then the traditional type of bauble here. And you also get a little banner here for a sentiment. So this will coordinate with some foil fusion sheets that you're also going to be able to get as a bundle. And they come like this. So what I wanted to show you here is that because they're intended for an advent calendar style of craft, you get your choices of little numbers that you can then use with foil fusion sheets from Tonic Studios. You'll be able to use these sheets along with your die cuts to create little decorations, and because these are meant to be little advent boxes, then you get up to 24 numbers, and then of course you get different styles. So you can use the round one for the little round tag, you can use a square one for the square tag, or you can alternately use these that don't have a border and they're a little bit smaller, so depending on how you intend on using them. Then along with those, you get a whole bunch of different Christmas style sentiments that you can use with that thin little banner, and that's what I'll be showing you today. Along with that, there's also this wood-like texture here, and that I'll show you in a moment, but let me show you really quickly. I've gone ahead and applied one of these. All you have to do is remove the little carrier sheet in the back, which is white, and then the transparent little sheet on top has the transfer on it. So you rub this onto your paper with your paper creaser. It's much easier, or perhaps a stylus that has the metal tip. Those I find to be useful also with this. And then remove that carrier sheet. This is now sticky, and you take your piece of foil, place it right on top. Make sure it's pretty side up, and this is going to allow you to then rub this onto that adhesive image that you place below, and just be gentle with it. I am using the linen side texture of this paper from Tonic Studios. However, you can definitely use the smooth side if you prefer that. Once you've rubbed that in, you can just remove the foil, and you now have this really beautiful little tag with that golden color. Of course, there are others, so I'll show you how I use the green. What I did here, this is my first sample that I wanted to show you, is that I actually created the little aperture into a shaker. Simply enough, by using the dies, I went ahead and cut this square as a frame, and behind that I have a piece of acetate. And as you can see, it looks so darling with just a little deer there. Now, this is from the Ideology range from Tim Holtz, and Some of the items are available through the Tonic Studios website. However, I didn't find these little guys. There are others like little roses and things like that. There is the little greenery on the bottom. I've added some glitter drops from Tonic Studios, and I've also added some little sequins from my stash. Then, as you can tell, these can be tied, but let me show you the side. This is from the Twinkling Traditions papers that you may already have on hand. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, so I didn't want to cover that up, but I did want to share with you here how you can cut into that paper so that you get that beautiful, elegant type of design there. And then on the back here is where you see how I've used the foil on that red paper. Here are the little hinges, and then also that little center portion where you can add the little candy. How cute is that? And then you can open this to reveal the little gift inside or the little candies. And of course, if you want to, you can line that with the dies included. Super sweet. Then you can, of course, if you want to, make this into a calendar. Just attach your little tag with the number, and that way the recipient knows where to begin opening the gifts. The other thing that I'm going to show you is how to create this one today, and there you see the foiling of the sentiment and how you can definitely create it absolutely to your liking with all of the items included. But I'm going to begin the tutorial now, and I hope that you enjoy it. Okay, to create this, you're going to be cutting 2 base pieces that will look like this, and they're identical. Then using the decorative pieces, and you do have 4 different choices as far as how you decorate these portions here. I've selected this one here. It has a double indentation there of a score line, which I thought was really pretty. And as you could tell, I am using mirror card, and I'm also using, I believe the color is avocado green. So this will decorate these portions here. And it is advisable that you decorate this when it's still, the paper is still flat. And of course, using tweezers always helps so that you don't get the adhesive on your fingers as you're crafting. And you can mix all of the colors. It would be really cute, in fact, if you did use all different kinds of colors on these. You don't have to use all one. You can now burnish the fold lines in the center here that you have on these pieces. And just be careful because of the aperture there. You can also fold these portions here. Just be careful to follow the fold line, of course, that's already created by the die. There's also a side tab here, so be sure to fold that along the crease line and also burnish that. And the 2 tabs, fold all of them away from you. And then these can fold up as valley folds. Okay, so those will be the only valley folds, and then everything else is a mountain fold. So repeat that with the second one. Once you have all of your score lines burnished, go ahead and face these so that the apertures face away from each other, and use that center tab to adhere both of these together. These should meet end to end. Flip that over and burnish that. And while it's still here, go ahead and adhere the two end tabs to form one long piece. You can now set this aside to dry. With the other dies included, you're going to cut 4 pieces that look like this. These are going to be your treat shelf die cuts, and you're going to use 4, but you're going to actually alternate these so that you can create little boxes with them. You're going to aim your adhesive toward the center square here. Make sure that you follow the score lines here. In fact, you may want to burnish this first, just to make it easier on yourself. And that way you get a perfect square here. So take your paper creaser and just crease those lines. Okay. And now you can get your perfect placement here. You'll be doing that twice. Before you construct these, just make sure that the top tabs are actually folded away from you and these little side tabs fold in, because you're going to be using those to adhere the adjacent panel together with that tab. And this is going to create your little box, and here is where you can fit the little treats you'll put inside. You can add adhesive all the way around. Just hold that up against that next little panel there. So once you've done this on the sides, repeat that with the second one as well. You will now have 2 little shelves that you can adhere back to back along the little square portion on the bottom. So hold those for a moment until they make really nice contact. And it is up to you, but if you would like to, you can use the dies included to line the inside with decorative paper. I've used the little panel that has the stitched edge, and I'll use my tweezers to go ahead and use this for the inside. So it's up to you, but you can definitely line the little inside like so. And there's also a small square that you can cut out should you want to line this portion here. And you can just add that on the inside also. And then use your paper creaser. I wanted to show you there is a smaller square die, so if you choose to line it that way, you can do so, or you can use the larger one. Take your side little tabs, fold them open like so, And you're going to actually adhere these along the aperture of one of these sides. Just face it right toward that aperture and make sure that it's even all the way around. And of course you can check along the other side to make sure everything looks good there. And now you can wrap this around, and you'll be repeating the same step on the other side. Before doing so, however, you do have these little crease lines that you can hide. And to do so, I've cut out 2 more squares. And this is so that they're not visible when this is closed. It's just for aesthetics, but it's a really good idea because it's going to look really nice and finished. And adhere it where you see the little edges here of what will be the top and bottom. Alternately, you can use the same little layer dies and use that to decorate this. It's going to cover that join. Fold these out. Place adhesive on these. And then take your little box and fold this over so that the aperture matches those tabs. And apply gentle pressure all the way around. And I now can close this off using this longer tab and then the 2 smaller ones here. Just by folding that over again, having those sides meet. If you would like to take advantage of any double-sided tweezers you may have, or reverse tweezers, I always call them double-sided. Reverse tweezers, they come in handy. Okay, once you have those all adhered, now you can plan your decoration for the rest of this. One of the options, of course, which makes this so unique, is to create the little doors that you can then adhere to the sides to create a little opening here. In order to do so, you'll need pieces that look like this, and you're also going to need a solid little square here. And what you want to do is have the edge of the little latch portion face the outer edge of that square. Just shimmy this down a tiny little bit so you get your little placement here. Once you have that, follow that line. So you now have a shorter piece. This is actually going to match the back of this. I think it should be a little bit shorter so that way it doesn't compete with that hinge. And I'm actually going to cut away that edge there. Just going to place my scissors where it meets along that edge. You're also going to have this little piece here. You cut it out with the long tab die. And it has some creases on it, and it's going to be 2 on one side, 2 on the other. You're going to want to fold those so that you get something that looks like this little box there. And the way that you can do it is by joining the portions here that are kind of oval on the edge. Apply adhesive only along that little portion there. So it's about half because it has a score line there. So don't surpass the score line because you're going to want to join these together. And if you want, you can use your reverse tweezers here as well to hold that for you while it dries, just for a moment. And then that way you get your positioning correctly. While that's drying, you can go ahead and cut out whether it be the little candy cane that's included or the other little lollipop there. I've used mirror card, as you can tell, and I've also used ivory card for the base. Then on the back, I've also used gray board from Tonic Studios just to create a nice sturdy piece there. In order to create a lock out of this, once this is dry, it's actually going to feed inside of this piece with the little aperture there. And now you want to make sure that you apply enough adhesive so that this becomes a little door. And this is why you needed a second piece to line this. So be quite generous with your adhesive here. You need an ample amount here for that. And then place your second little piece of the door right on the back, making sure that it doesn't meet that little edge with the score line, because then it's a little bit harder to fold. Okay, you can now fold this along that score line as a valley fold, because this is going to create a little door here. I think I need to cut mine down a tiny little hair. Okay. This is going to now create a little door that you can adhere along one of the edges. Okay, place that one on top, and then that way you can gauge the distance here. Apply your adhesive to that little hinge. That's going to be your second little door here. You can then press down. Just be patient with it. That way you get a nice little square piece here. Once this is fully dry, you can now lock it up with a little candy cane or the other little candies included. Just like that. How sweet. Once you have that locked with the little candy there, you can also add little hinges to this, which is really cute. So I'm actually going to take this off and then add the hinges. So they're going to cut like this, and you can cut a total of 4. I believe the die, yes, cuts 2 at a time. So what you want to do, of course, is fold this as a valley fold and apply your adhesive on the back, just a very small amount. You don't need a whole lot. And then have these face the outside, and that decorative little portion faces the inside of the door. So you kind of want to match the fold line with the hinge of that door there, of course. That's the whole point. You can now add, for instance, that little candy cane to lock it. And it looks super cute. You can now go ahead and decorate this any way that you'd like. Here, for instance, I'm going to be adding this panel, and I decided to add the little bell, which I cut out of glitter card on top of the solid red mirror card. And this does cut out with both pieces with one die, so all you have to do is shimmy your paper to place it where you need it. And of course this has the option there for a little ribbon, or you can cut that portion off if you would like, down right along the score line, just to have the little bell right there. This is going to decorate one side. I wanted to show you that you do have alternatives in the ways that you layer the little elements that are included. Here I've placed the red mirror card on top of glitter gold for the little bell. And then on the opposite side, I did the gold on top of red. And of course, it's all going to match there. I wanted just to show you some options here, of course. So I'm just going to close this up with this little square here. Of course, that means you're still using the portion that's behind here. It's just serving more as a piece of support for this little box than anything else. Now, I wanted to show you that this set comes with some foils that you can use, of course, to create your little boxes. And Tonic Studios has lots of options when it comes to colors. What I'm going to do actually is to cut out one of these little sentiments. I'm going to use the smooth side of the cardstock that I've chosen. I'm going to use tweezers because I don't want to accidentally put my fingers on there. I'm simply going to place this on the cardstock and then burnish it with my paper creaser. Once you've burnished the adhesive onto that background, you can take away the carrier sheet. And here you have some choices because there are several colors of foil that you can get from Tonic Studios. There's the chrome, there's the ruby red, there's rose gold, emerald green, and polished gold. So I'm just going to cut it down for the piece that I'll be using. I'm going to place it pretty side up right on top of the sentiment and rub it with this paper creaser until I see the image come through. Then you can peel that back. And there you see that it says Merry Christmas. Super easy. There's also a little die included that will cut this little banner out for you. So I'll be using that. Once you have your little banner created, I wanted to show you these other little elements that I'll be using. But what I've done is that I've cut out the same little banner out of mirror card. And I'm going to take the first one, and this is going to create a little drop shadow for me. So I'm just going to place 3 little dots there of adhesive and have this be kind of, I guess, crisscross here. Just going to cross it in the center. And I'm going to grab that and add more adhesive here on the back. This is actually going to go on this side of this box. Now on the side that has the glitter card here, I'm going to add a second little square, again, that cuts with the smaller square die included in this set. I'm going to have these little banners right kind of in the center, but of course the Merry Christmas is now going to be diagonal there. Apply this here. And the other thing that I've done is, while that's drying, I've taken the die that cuts out the holly leaves and I cut it out 3 times. I cut down some of the little pieces, and as you can see there, I adhered them on top of others. So that way I could create a little poinsettia. And to shape the leaves, I simply took my tweezers, placed them in the center, and I pinched the paper like that. This is going to go here, but first I'm going to take this little sprig, which I think is darling, cut out of one of the other little dies here. And this is going to be added onto this as well, just to create a little bit of contrast here. So I'm going to actually put this down here diagonally, like that. So there is quite a bit of versatility with these dies. Use them as a holly or berry, or create a little flower. Why not? Now for the center, of course, you can use anything you like, whether it be more little cutout pieces of paper that cut out with the dies. You can use sequins, which is what I'm going to be doing today. You can use drops if you have them. A little bit of glitter drop. That's going to keep that from falling off of one side. Then you can do the same on the other side. I'm first going to gauge how big this needs to be. All you need to do now is to press this toward the center, and using the ribbon might actually help. This is going to form a little square there, in case you were wondering, but you can definitely now tie this off. Okay, so this concludes my tutorial. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and don't forget to look out for the bundles that will be available at Tonic Studios throughout this week, as well as the competitions. And if you do share any of the items in the Facebook group, then be sure to tag it as well with hashtag #ShowTonic so that everyone can see what you've made. These are so much fun. I think they're absolutely adorable. And of course, they're very versatile because you can use these with the other items that will be available throughout this week. And don't forget that there are playlists over at the Tonic Studios YouTube channel. And of course, here on my channel, I'll have the videos that you can watch, and the videos that you see here will have affiliate links, so that if you want to support this channel, you can do that just by clicking on those links that will take you directly to Tonic Studios so that you can shop to your heart's content. But I do hope that you enjoy what you receive as much as I have, and that you can always be inspired and be blessed. And I thank you so much for watching.